The point of the audio is who Mark Cuban was on a podcast with. And the What's in Your Glass podcast is brought to you by Carmelo Anthony, I do believe.
Okay.
And you heard them joke with each other. And I'm looking at this roster, the Mavericks roster, and I don't know how much he would cost. I have never wanted Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
I have always thought that Carmelo Anthony didn't fit with any team correctly. And it would take actually the Chauncey Billups Denver Nuggets were good for him, but I always felt like if the ball got to him, it stopped at him. He has become a better teammate. He has become a better player, and maybe not the most prolific scorer that he used to be, but he still can put it in and give you about 22 minutes a night. Would anybody out there like to see Carmelo Anthony next to Luka? 877-881-1053.
I wouldn't mind it. I have a strong feeling that because there's only 5 players on the LA Lakers and they're $10 million over the cap right now, that he's going to play with LeBron to end his career and see if he can win a championship with the Lakers. He makes I won't say a lot of sense. He's a better 3-point shooter in his career, Reggie, than he's ever been as the game has evolved to that. And he did a great job for Portland. He understood his role on Portland. So I wouldn't mind having him here in Dallas. I think he would be a guy for 15 to 20 minutes off the bench, which would be nice. But I think he's going to be a Laker.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I'd like to contend with some of that ball stopper idea because, I mean, there is instances where you looked up and he was the best player. But then also, like, when he had to, he could move that ball around. He would be willing, but obviously, especially in New York, got a little tough when those teams were not as good as they needed to be. But regardless, right, I don't think I need to come to Carmelo Anthony's defense. I do kind of agree with Mike here, where I could easily see him going to a situation where he's trying to win a championship more expeditiously. He's 36; he'll be 37 in this season. Like, if he plays, I think he wants to be on a situation where they are a title contender in that moment. And I'm not sure if that's exactly where the Mavericks are. They seem to be maybe like a step or two away from that. But I do think he's always an interesting piece. He's a scorer first and foremost, as he's always been. And yeah, Mike's right. He shot 40% from 3 this past season.
Mm-hmm.
He can be that guy who, spots you at the 4 from times, who can shoot in space if you need him to. And then obviously he's just a really good vet who has a lot of knowledge of this league.
Okay, and see that's the thing that, like, I'm feeling about this group, about this team is you say two maybe 3 steps away. Did you say 2 or 3?
I said 1 or 2, but I mean, also one of ththese things about these steps is that they're not always linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at the Memphis Grizzlies in this offseason, where they're trading away Jonas Valanciunas. And Mike, you were the one asking the question first and foremost, how does this make them better? But sometimes you have to realize that what you have might have a cap. You have to step back in order to go forward. And sometimes that's not linear. And I think that there's a lot of folks that look at this Mavs team and wonder if maybe sometimes some of it needs to be a step back to go forward or what have you. So, like, it's not always linear development. So they may be 1 or 2 steps away, but I also wonder how those improvements are achieved.
Mike, are you
Do
feeling...
you think they're going to ask Porzingis to get more than 5 rebounds a game in the playoffs? Because I can't believe Rick just asked him to get 5 rebounds.
No,
please stop doing it. Please don't get more than 5 rebounds.
Who's he defending? It's seriously, and he's not one of those Tyson Chandler guys where you just say, go stand there. We're going to funnel everybody to you because we have such elite perimeter players that we can force everybody down to Tyson Chandler, and then it becomes problematic for them to get points. KP's not that guy.
And I think it would work out better if you could do that. The problem is teams know the book on him. And it's like the slow foot speed is going to be tough. What happens in this NBA is that you have to remember teams are going to start hunting matchups. Now, of course, in the regular season, this will be mitigated a little bit because game to game over an 82-game season, teams are not doing as much game planning as you see like in the playoffs. But especially when playoff time comes, which I guess at this point the Mavericks have to start considering, you're building a team now to try and contend in the playoffs, not just to be generally good in the league. Those mismatches are going to be hunted, and teams are going to try and run pick and rolls to get him out on the perimeter and try and attack him and his slow foot speed. So even if you think maybe during the regular season that he can be a guy that you funnel to and he could use his length and his height to maybe disrupt shots and things like that, that's going to be tough because teams are going to look at that and go and try and find that weakness and attack it constantly.